Captain Marcus Chen stood in the sterile white corridor of the Galactic Medical Station, his hands trembling as he stared at the official documents. The genetic test results felt like ice in his palm. According to the alien scientist, the child growing inside Dr. Sarah Martinez was not his. Impossible, he whispered, reading the complex molecular charts for the third time. The Zephyrian medical technology was supposed to be flawless, capable of detecting genetic markers down to the smallest detail. Yet here it was in cold scientific language, stating that he shared no DNA with the unborn baby. Sarah sat on the examination table behind him, her face pale but determined. She had been working as a xenobiologist on the research station for 2 years, studying alien life forms alongside the peaceful Zephyrian species. Their relationship had been a bright spot in the darkness of deep space, a human connection millions of miles from Earth. "Marcus, you know this baby is yours," Sarah said quietly, her hand resting on her growing belly. "We've been together for over a year. There's been no one else." The Zephyrian doctor, Dr. Veltar, stood nearby with his elongated limbs and silver skin gleaming under the medical lights. His large, dark eyes showed what appeared to be sympathy. Though human emotions were often difficult to read on alien faces, the genetic sequencing is quite clear. "Captain Chen," Dr. Veltar said in his melodic voice, "the developing offspring shows no genetic markers consistent with your DNA pattern. However, it does show some unusual readings that we cannot fully explain." Marcus felt his world crumbling. He loved Sarah deeply, but the evidence seemed overwhelming. The Zephyrians had no reason to lie, and their medical technology was centuries ahead of anything humans possessed. They had helped humanity advance in countless ways since first contact 15 years ago. "What kind of unusual readings?" Sarah asked, leaning forward with concern. Dr. Veltar consulted his holographic display, symbols and charts floating in the air between his fingers. "The child appears to have genetic sequences we have never encountered before. Not human, not Zephyrian, not any of the 17 species in our database. It is quite remarkable, actually." Marcus ran his hands through his dark hair, trying to process the information. He had been looking forward to becoming a father, had even started planning for their return to Earth so the child could grow up with blue skies and fresh air. Now everything felt uncertain. Could there be an error in the testing? Sarah pressed, her voice carrying a note of desperation. "Our genetic analysis has a 99.7% accuracy rate," Dr. Veltar replied gently. "However, if you wish, we can perform additional tests. The readings are unusual enough that further study might provide more clarity." The medical station hummed around them, a massive structure orbiting a distant star where humans and aliens worked together on research projects. Marcus had been proud to serve here, representing humanity in their ongoing partnership with the Zephyrians. Now he felt lost and confused. "I need some time to think," Marcus said, placing the documents on the nearby counter. "This doesn't make sense." Sarah slid down from the examination table and approached him carefully. "Marcus, please. You know me. You know I wouldn't lie about something like this." He looked into her brown eyes, searching for any hint of deception. They had shared everything over the past year, their hopes and fears, their dreams of the future. She had never given him reason to doubt her honesty. "I want to believe you," he said softly. "But the science doesn't lie, Sarah. The Zephyrians have no reason to deceive us." Dr. Veltar cleared his throat politely, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Perhaps you would like to speak with our chief geneticist, Dr. Morden? She has been studying these unusual readings and might have additional insights." "Yes," Sarah said quickly. "Please, let's talk to her." Marcus nodded reluctantly. He owed it to Sarah, to their relationship, and to the child to explore every possibility. Even if the results seemed clear, maybe there was something they were missing. They followed Dr. Veltar through the curved corridors of the station, passing other humans and Zephyrians going about their daily work. The research station was a marvel of cooperative engineering, with sections designed for both species' needs. The air was slightly thinner than Earth normal, adjusted to accommodate Zephyrian physiology, but humans had adapted well. Dr. Morden's laboratory was larger than the medical bay, filled with sophisticated equipment that hummed and glowed with alien technology. The chief geneticist was older than Dr. Veltar, her silver skin bearing the subtle patterns that indicated advanced age among her people. "Ah, the interesting case," Dr. Morden said as they entered, her voice carrying the authority of decades of research. "I have been examining the genetic data with great curiosity." She gestured to a large holographic display showing complex DNA strands rotating slowly in three-dimensional space. The patterns were beautiful but completely incomprehensible to Marcus. The child's genetic structure is unlike anything in our extensive database, Dr. Morden continued. While we can confirm it is not a match for Captain Chen's DNA, there are elements that suggest something far more significant is occurring. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her hand unconsciously moving to her belly. Dr. Morden manipulated the hologram, highlighting certain sections of the genetic code in bright blue. These sequences appear to be entirely new, as if the child is developing capabilities that neither parent species possesses. It is unprecedented in our research. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying the baby isn't human? The base genetic structure is human, Dr. Morden assured them. But there are additions, modifications that we cannot explain through natural reproduction. It is as if the child is evolving beyond its parents. The implications hung heavy in the air. Marcus looked at Sarah, seeing his own confusion and fear reflected in her expression. What were they dealing with? What was growing inside the woman he loved? Is the baby healthy? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. All indicators suggest perfect health, Dr. Morden replied. In fact, the readings suggest the child will be remarkably robust. These genetic modifications appear to be enhancements rather than defects. Marcus felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. The scientific evidence said the child wasn't his, but something deeper told him there was more to this story than anyone understood. 3 weeks had passed since the devastating genetic test results, and Marcus found himself avoiding Sarah more each day. The research station felt smaller somehow. Every corridor a potential encounter with questions he couldn't answer. He threw himself into his work, managing supply runs and coordination between the human and Zephyrian research teams. Sarah had tried to talk to him several times, but he always found an excuse to leave. The hurt in her eyes was becoming harder to ignore, but the scientific evidence felt like a wall between them. How could he raise a child that wasn't his? How could he trust someone he thought he knew completely? Dr. Morden had been running additional tests, but each one only deepened the mystery. The child's genetic profile continued to show impossible combinations, sequences that shouldn't exist in nature. The Zephyrian scientists were fascinated, but Marcus felt only growing dread. He was reviewing shipping manifests in his quarters when the emergency alarm began sounding throughout the station. The lights shifted to the red alert pattern, and his personal communicator immediately activated. All senior staff to the command center immediately, came the voice of Station Commander Torres. We have an unidentified vessel approaching at high speed. Marcus grabbed his uniform jacket and ran toward the command center, his personal problems temporarily forgotten. The station rarely received unscheduled visitors, and any unknown ship could represent a threat to the delicate research being conducted here. The command center was buzzing with activity when he arrived. The main display showed a massive vessel approaching their position, unlike any ship in the known databases. It was sleek and organic-looking, as if it had been grown rather than built, with a dark metal surface that seemed to absorb light. Ship composition is unknown, reported Lieutenant Kim from the sensor station. It's not matching any known human or Zephyrian designs, and it's not responding to our hail attempts. Commander Torres was a veteran of first contact protocols, having served during the initial meetings with the Zephyrians. Her weathered face showed concern but not panic. Size and armament? Approximately 2 kilometers in length, Kim replied. We're detecting what appear to be weapon systems, but they're not powered up. The ship seems to be in a passive approach mode. Dr. Veltar entered the command center, moving with the fluid grace typical of his species. Commander, we are receiving a transmission, but it is not through normal communication channels. What do you mean? Torres asked. The message appears to be directed specifically at Dr. Martinez, Dr. Veltar said, his large eyes showing confusion. It is requesting her presence in your communication array. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Sarah? Why would an unknown alien species want to talk to Sarah? Before anyone could answer, Sarah herself entered the command center looking pale but determined. I've been having strange dreams for the past week, she said quietly. Dreams of voices calling to me from the stars. I think they're connected to this ship. The room fell silent except for the hum of electronic systems. Marcus stared at Sarah, seeing her as if for the first time. There was something different about her, something he couldn't quite identify. Dr. Martinez, Commander Torres said carefully, are you saying you've had some kind of psychic contact with this vessel? I know how it sounds, Sarah replied, but the dreams have been so vivid. There's a voice, ancient and powerful, asking about the child, asking if the child is safe. Dr. Morden suddenly appeared at Sarah's side, having arrived without anyone noticing. This correlates with our genetic findings, she said urgently. The unusual sequences in the child's DNA, they are not random mutations. They appear to be deliberate modifications. What are you suggesting? Marcus asked, though part of him was beginning to understand. The child is not fully human because it was never meant to be, Dr. Morden explained. Something has been influencing its development, guiding its genetic evolution. Something with technology far beyond even our own. The main display showed the alien vessel slowing its approach, taking position just outside the station's defensive perimeter. It waited there like a patient predator, dark and silent. Commander, Lieutenant Kim called out. We're receiving a second transmission. This one is in standard galactic languages directed at the station as a whole. Put it through, Torres ordered. The speakers crackled to life, and a voice unlike anything they had ever heard filled the command center. It was deep and resonant with harmonics that seemed to vibrate in their bones. Greetings, children of the younger races, the voice began. We are the vanguard, shepherds of evolution, guides of genetic destiny. We have come for the one who carries our gift. Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm instinctively, pulling her closer to him. Whatever was happening, his protective instincts were overriding his doubts about the child's parentage. We seek the female human designated Sarah Martinez, the voice continued. She carries within her a child of great importance, one whose genetics have been carefully guided by our design. The child must be brought to us for proper development. Like hell, Marcus muttered, surprising himself with his immediate protective response. Commander Torres stepped forward, activating the station's communication system. This is Commander Torres of the Joint Human-Zephyrian Research Station. Dr. Martinez is under our protection. State your intentions clearly. The response came with what sounded almost like amusement. Commander Torres, your species is young and does not understand the greater design. The child Dr. Martinez carries represents the next stage of human evolution. We have been guiding select genetic lines for thousands of your years, preparing for this moment. Sarah's hand went to her belly, and Marcus saw fear in her eyes for the first time since this had all began. They've been manipulating human genetics for thousands of years? She whispered. Dr. Veltar was rapidly accessing his database systems, his long fingers dancing over holographic controls. There are legends among our people, he said slowly, of an ancient race that appeared periodically to guide evolution among younger species. We believe them to be myths. The vanguard are no myth, the voice continued, apparently able to hear their conversation. We have guided the development of 17 species to their current forms. Humanity was selected for enhancement long ago, but your genetic development has been slower than anticipated. That's why the child's DNA didn't match Marcus, Sarah said suddenly, understanding flooding her face. It's not that the baby isn't his. It's that the baby is becoming something more than either of us. Marcus felt the world shifting around him again, but this time in a completely different direction. The child was his, but it was also something unprecedented, something these ancient aliens had been working toward for millennia. The child will be brought to us, the vanguard voice declared with finality. Resistance will serve no purpose. We have invested too much in this genetic line to allow interference now. Commander Torres looked around the command center, taking in the faces of her crew. Dr. Martinez, what do you want to do? Sarah looked at Marcus, her eyes searching his face. I want to protect my child, she said firmly. Our child. Whatever it's becoming, it deserves to choose its own path. Marcus felt something shift inside him, a certainty he hadn't experienced in weeks. Then we protect them both, he said, moving to stand beside Sarah. Whatever this child is, it's ours to raise and protect. The alien vessel on the display seemed to pulse with energy, as if responding to their defiance. The alien vessel had been holding position for 6 hours, and tension throughout the station was reaching a breaking point. Marcus stood in the observation deck with Sarah, watching the dark ship through the reinforced transparasteel windows. It seemed to pulse with an inner light, like a sleeping giant's heartbeat. I can feel them, Sarah said quietly, her hand resting on her belly. Not just the voices in my dreams anymore. They're awake now, and they're impatient. Marcus put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. The past few hours had changed everything between them. Faced with an external threat to their unborn child, his doubts about paternity had evaporated. This was his family, and he would protect them with his life. Dr. Martinez, Captain Chen, please report to Laboratory 7 immediately, came Dr. Morden's voice over the communication system. We have made a significant discovery. They hurried through the curved corridors, passing other station personnel who looked worried but determined. Word had spread quickly about the alien demands, and the entire crew was rallying to protect one of their own. Laboratory 7 was packed with both human and Zephyrian scientists, all working frantically at various stations. Dr. Morden stood at the center, her silver skin almost glowing with excitement. We have been analyzing the genetic modifications in your child, she announced as they entered, and we have discovered something remarkable. The Vanguard have not simply been enhancing human genetics, they have been preparing humanity for something specific. She activated a large holographic display showing a complex three-dimensional model of DNA. Certain sections were highlighted, in different colors, creating patterns that seemed almost artistic in their complexity. The modifications are not random improvements, Dr. Morden continued. They are designed to create specific capabilities, enhanced cognitive function, improved physical resilience, and most importantly, the ability to interface directly with advanced technology. Dr. Veltar stepped forward, his large eyes reflecting the holographic light. We have been comparing these genetic patterns with our historical databases. The Vanguard appear to have created similar enhancements in other species, but never to this extent. What does that mean? Marcus asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer would be disturbing. Your child is not just the next step in human evolution, Dr. Morden explained. It is designed to serve as a bridge between humans and Vanguard technology, perhaps as a living interface for their systems. Sarah's face went pale. They want to use my baby as some kind of biological computer? The implications are more complex than that, Dr. Veltar said gently. Based on our analysis, the child would have capabilities far beyond anything we have seen, enhanced intelligence, near-perfect health, and the ability to directly control advanced technology through thought alone. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. So they've been playing with human genetics for thousands of years just to create a slave for their machines? Not a slave, came a new voice from the laboratory entrance. Everyone turned to see a figure unlike anything they had encountered before. It was humanoid but clearly not human, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to shift between silver and gold. Its eyes were completely black, reflecting no light. I am Keeper Zaltharan of the Vanguard, the being said, its voice carrying the same harmonic qualities as the ship's communication, but softer, more personal. I have come to correct your misunderstandings. Security alarms immediately began, sounding, but Keeper Zaltharan raised one hand in a peaceful gesture. I mean no harm. I am here to speak with the parents of the child. Marcus instinctively moved in front of Sarah, but she placed a hand on his arm. How did you get aboard our station? She asked. Our technology is far advanced beyond your security systems, Zaltharan replied matter-of-factly. But I did not come to demonstrate our superiority. I came to explain what your child represents. Dr. Morden approached the Vanguard representative cautiously. Our analysis suggests the genetic modifications are designed to create a biological interface with your technology. Is this correct? Zaltharan's expression was difficult to read, but something that might have been surprise crossed its features. Your understanding is more advanced than we anticipated. Yes, the child will have such capabilities, but you misunderstand the purpose. Then explain it, Marcus demanded, his protective instincts making him bold despite facing a representative of a vastly superior civilization. The Vanguard have guided evolution across the galaxy for millions of years, Zaltharan began, moving with fluid grace to the center of the laboratory. We seek not to dominate or enslave, but to prepare younger species for the challenges that await them among the stars. The Keeper gestured, and the holographic display changed, showing a vast map of the galaxy with various points highlighted in different colors. Each species we guide faces the same ultimate test, Zaltharan continued. There are ancient threats in the dark spaces between stars, predators that consume entire civilizations. We prepare younger races to defend themselves and others against these threats. Sarah stepped forward, her hand still protectively over her belly. You're saying you've been modifying my child to fight some kind of galactic war? Not to fight, Zaltharan corrected. To lead, to coordinate, to become the bridge between species that allows for true cooperation in the face of extinction. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. You want our child to become some kind of galactic general? The child will have the choice, Zaltharan said, and for the first time, its voice carried what seemed like genuine emotion. We do not force our guidance upon anyone, but the capabilities we have enhanced will give your child the option to help protect not just humanity, but all conscious life in this galaxy. Dr. Veltar had been quietly working at his station during the conversation. Now he looked up with alarm. Keeper Zaltharan, our long-range sensors are detecting multiple large objects at the edge of our system. They do not match any known ship designs. Zaltharan's entire demeanor changed instantly, becoming more alert and focused. Show me. The main display shifted to show the sensor readings. 6 massive objects were moving toward their system, each one larger than the Vanguard vessel. Their composition was unlike anything in the databases, seeming to absorb sensor beams rather than reflect them. The Devourers have found this system, Zaltharan said grimly. They are drawn to developing consciousness, to the genetic potential your child represents. We have perhaps hours before they arrive. Marcus felt his world shifting again, but this time with a clarity that cut through all confusion. Whatever the Vanguard's long-term plans for his child, right now there was an immediate threat to everyone on the station. What are the Devourers? Sarah asked, though her expression suggested she already suspected the answer would be terrifying. They are what remains of civilizations that failed the test, Zaltharan replied. Ancient species that chose consumption over cooperation, that became predators feeding on the life force of younger races. They sense the genetic enhancements in your child and seek to prevent them from reaching maturity. Commander Torres's voice crackled over the communication system. All senior staff to the command center immediately. We have multiple unknown vessels approaching at high speed. Marcus grabbed Sarah's hand. Whatever's coming, we face it together, he said firmly. But I want you and the baby as far from danger as possible. The child is safest near me, Zaltharan said unexpectedly. The enhancements are not yet complete, but they provide some protection against devourer influence. I can shield the developing consciousness from their attempts at corruption. Sarah looked at Marcus, then at the alien keeper. You're asking me to trust you with my child's life. I am asking you to trust me with all our lives, Zaltharan replied. The Devourers will not stop with this station. If they prevent your child's development, they will systematically hunt down every enhanced genetic line we have cultivated. This is the moment thousands of years of preparation have led to. The station shuddered as something massive passed nearby, and the lights flickered ominously. The command center was in chaos when they arrived. The main display showed 6 massive vessels surrounding the research station, each one easily 10 times larger than the Vanguard ship. They moved with an unsettling organic quality, as if they were living creatures rather than spacecraft. They're not responding to any communication attempts, Lieutenant Kim reported, her voice tight with stress. But we're detecting some kind of scanning beams focused on the medical sections of the station. They are searching for the child, Keeper Zaltharan confirmed, his gold and silver skin now appearing more silver, as if responding to the presence of the Devourers. Their sensors can detect enhanced genetic patterns across vast distances. Commander Torres turned to face the Vanguard representative. What are our options? Can your ship protect us? My vessel is powerful, but not against 6 Devourer ships, Zaltharan replied honestly. However, there is another possibility. The child's genetic enhancements, though incomplete, may be sufficient to access certain Vanguard technologies that could tip the balance. Marcus felt Sarah tense beside him. You want to use our unborn baby as a weapon? Not as a weapon, Saltharan said carefully. As a key. There are ancient vanguard systems hidden throughout this galaxy, dormant until activated by the proper genetic signature. Your child could awaken defenses that have slept for millions of years. Dr. Veltar looked up from his sensor station, his large eyes wide with alarm. The Devourer ships are launching smaller craft, hundreds of them heading directly for the station. On the display, they could see dark shapes detaching from the massive vessels like seeds from a dying flower. Each one was about the size of a fighter craft, but they moved with the same organic fluidity as their parent ships. Boarding craft, Zaltharan identified grimly. They will attempt to take the station intact to preserve the genetic material they seek. Station defenses will not be sufficient to stop them all. Commander Torres activated the station-wide communication system. All personnel to emergency stations. We are under attack by hostile forces. Initiate lockdown protocols immediately. Throughout the station, emergency bulkheads began sealing, and the few weapon systems designed for asteroid defense powered up. But everyone knew they were vastly outgunned. Sarah suddenly gasped, doubling over with her hands pressed to her belly. Something's happening, she said through gritted teeth. The baby, it's responding to them. Dr. Morden immediately moved to Sarah's side, activating a portable medical scanner. The readings made her silver skin pale even further. The genetic enhancements are accelerating, she announced. The child's development is advancing at an impossible rate. The proximity to Devourer technology is triggering premature activation, Zaltharan explained. This is both dangerous and potentially advantageous. The child may gain access to its capabilities sooner than planned, but at great risk to both mother and offspring. Marcus grabbed Zaltharan by what he assumed was a shoulder, surprised to find the alien's skin warm and somehow familiar to the touch. Fix this. Do something to help them. I can stabilize the process, Zaltharan said, but it will require direct contact with the developing consciousness. The child must choose whether to accept full activation now or wait for natural development. The baby isn't even born yet, Marcus protested. How can it choose anything? Enhanced human consciousness develops much earlier than normal, Dr. Morden interjected, her instruments tracking rapid changes in Sarah's condition. The neural activity readings suggest the child is already aware, already thinking. Sarah looked up at Marcus, pain and determination mixing in her expression. I can feel it, she whispered. The baby is scared, but it's also angry. It doesn't like what those things represent. The station shuddered as the first wave of boarding craft made contact with the outer hull. Emergency alarms echoed through the corridors, and the sound of cutting tools could be heard even in the command center. They're breaking through on multiple levels, Kim reported. Security teams are moving to intercept, but our weapons are barely slowing them down. Zaltharan moved closer to Sarah, his black eyes reflecting depths of knowledge and experience. The choice must be made now. Natural development will take months, but full activation will give the child capabilities immediately. However, the process is irreversible and carries significant risks. What kind of risks? Marcus demanded. The child may not survive the acceleration, Zaltharan admitted, or it may survive but be fundamentally changed from what you would consider normal human development. It will be something unprecedented even by Vanguard standards. Sarah gripped Marcus's hand tightly. If we don't do something, those things will kill everyone on this station. They'll hunt down every enhanced human line your people have created. How many other children will die if we're too scared to act? Marcus looked around the command center, seeing the faces of people he had worked with for years. Dr. Veltar, who had become a friend despite their species differences. Commander Torres, who had given him his first real command opportunity. Lieutenant Kim, who was barely older than Sarah and had her whole life ahead of her. What would the child be able to do? He asked Zaltharan. Access dormant Vanguard defense networks throughout this system, the Keeper replied. Coordinate tactical responses across multiple platforms simultaneously. Most importantly, generate a resonance field that disrupts Devourer technology while enhancing our own. Another massive impact shook the station, and the lights flickered more severely. Through the viewports, they could see Devourer boarding craft latched onto the hull like mechanical parasites. Security Team 7 has been overrun, came a panicked voice over the communication system. These things aren't alive, but they're not machines either. Our weapons are having minimal effect. Sarah closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was a strange light in them that Marcus had never seen before. "The baby says it understands," she said quietly. "It knows what it needs to do." "Sarah, no." Marcus started to protest, but she placed her fingers gently over his lips. "This is our child," she said firmly. "Human, enhanced, or something entirely new, it's still ours. And it's choosing to protect the people we care about." Zaltharan stepped forward, extending one elongated hand toward Sarah's belly. "The process will be uncomfortable but not painful. The child's consciousness will expand rapidly, and you may feel echoes of its enhanced awareness." Sarah nodded, placing her hand over Zaltharan's. "Do it." The moment their hands made contact, the air in the command center seemed to shimmer. Energy flowed between the Vanguard Keeper and the unborn child, creating patterns of light that danced across the walls and instruments. Sarah's eyes widened, and she gasped, not in pain, but in wonder. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The baby's mind is growing, expanding. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time." Throughout the station, every piece of advanced technology suddenly hummed with new energy. Lights brightened, computers processed faster, and the defensive systems began operating with unprecedented efficiency. But most remarkably, Marcus felt something touch his mind, gentle but unmistakably present, a consciousness vast and complex yet somehow fundamentally familiar. His child, but transformed into something that could perceive and understand the universe in ways he couldn't imagine. "Hello, Father," came a voice that existed only in his thoughts, carrying love, determination, and ancient wisdom. "Let me show you what humanity can become." The transformation was immediate and overwhelming. Marcus felt his unborn child's consciousness expand through the station's systems like water, flowing through a broken dam. Every computer, every sensor, every piece of advanced technology suddenly became an extension of the child's awareness. "Systems throughout the station are coming online," Lieutenant Kim reported in amazement. "Defensive capabilities I didn't even know we had are activating automatically." Through the viewports, they could see the station's external appearance changing. Hidden weapon arrays emerged from concealed panels, and energy shields flickered to life around critical sections. The research station was revealing itself to be far more than it had appeared. "The Vanguard have been preparing this facility for years," Zaltharan explained, his hand still connected to Sarah's belly as energy continued to flow between them. "Your child is awakening systems that have been dormant, waiting for the proper genetic key." Sarah's face showed strain, but also wonder, as she experienced echoes of her child's expanded consciousness. "It's incredible," she whispered. "The baby can perceive the entire station, every person, every system. And beyond that, it's connecting to something vast." On the main display, the tactical situation was changing rapidly. The Devourer boarding craft that had been cutting through the hull were suddenly encountering fierce resistance. Automated defense systems that had never existed before were emerging from the station's infrastructure. "Multiple Devourer boarding teams have been neutralized," came a surprised report from the security chief. Unknown defense systems activated throughout affected sections, but Marcus was focused on something else entirely. Through his mental connection with his child, he could perceive the Devourer entities themselves. They weren't entirely mechanical, but they weren't alive in any sense he understood. They were something in between. Corrupted organic matter merged with technology in ways that made his mind recoil. "What are they?" he asked Zaltharan, the question forming both verbally and through the strange new mental link. "They are what remains when a species chooses power over wisdom," the Keeper replied. "Civilizations that sought to enhance themselves through consumption rather than cooperation. They devour the life force of other species, incorporating their victims into their collective consciousness." The child's mental voice touched Marcus again, carrying information rather than words. Through his offspring's enhanced perception, he could see the Devourer's true nature. They had once been individual beings like humans or Zephyrians, but they had surrendered their individual consciousness to become part of a vast, hungry collective. "They want to do the same thing to humanity," Sarah said suddenly, her face pale with understanding. "To every species the Vanguard have enhanced. They want to consume all that potential and add it to themselves." Dr. Veltar looked up from his station with urgent concern. "The main Devourer vessels are powering up massive energy weapons. They appear to be preparing to destroy the station rather than capture it. They've realized the child cannot be taken intact, Zaltharan confirmed grimly. If they cannot claim the genetic enhancements, they will prevent them from being used against them. Through the enhanced connection, Marcus felt his child reaching out beyond the station, seeking something in the vast darkness of space. The consciousness that had been human was now touching ancient systems scattered throughout the star system, awakening technologies that had slept for eons. There, Sarah gasped, pointing toward the main display. Something's happening near the third planet. The display shifted to show the system's inner planets, and everyone in the command center watched in amazement as structures began emerging from what they had assumed was just another barren world. Massive installations rose from the planet's surface, their surfaces gleaming with the same energy patterns that now flowed through the station. Defense platforms, Zaltharan identified with satisfaction. The Vanguard established them millions of years ago, but they have remained dormant until now. Your child is bringing an entire defensive network online. The Devourer vessels immediately responded to this new threat, turning their attention from the research station to the awakening planetary defenses. Energy beams lanced across space as the ancient enemies engaged in combat for the first time in millennia. But Marcus was experiencing something even more remarkable through his connection with his child. The enhanced consciousness wasn't just controlling technology, it was learning from it, absorbing millions of years of accumulated knowledge and wisdom from the Vanguard systems. The baby is growing, Sarah said wonderingly. Not physically, but mentally. It's becoming something incredible. Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's personality beginning to stabilize around its expanded capabilities. It was still recognizably human at its core, still his child, but it now possessed understanding that spanned galaxies and eons. Father, came the child's mental voice again, stronger and more focused now. I understand now what the Vanguard have been working toward. It's not about creating weapons or servants. It's about giving younger species the tools they need to protect all life in the universe. The battle raging outside was shifting in their favor as more ancient defense systems came online throughout the star system. The Devourer vessels, which had seemed overwhelmingly powerful, were now struggling against coordinated attacks from multiple sources. How many systems like this exist? Marcus asked Zaltharan. Thousands, the Keeper replied, throughout this galaxy and others, all dormant until activated by consciousness like your child's. The Vanguard have been preparing for this conflict for millions of years. Dr. Morden approached with her medical scanner, checking Sarah's condition with obvious concern. The acceleration process is stabilizing, she reported, but the child's neural development is now far beyond anything we can measure with our equipment. Is the baby still human? Marcus asked, though he feared the answer. Sarah smiled, tears streaming down her face. It's still our child, she said softly. Enhanced, changed, but still ours. I can feel its love, its determination to protect not just us but everyone. Through the mental connection, Marcus felt his child's awareness expanding even further, reaching out to touch other enhanced individuals scattered across human space. Men and women who had always felt slightly different, slightly more capable than their peers, were suddenly discovering they were part of something much larger. There are others, he realized. Other enhanced humans? Hundreds, Zaltharan confirmed, scattered across your colonies, most unaware of their true nature until now. Your child is awakening them all, creating a network of enhanced consciousness that spans your entire species. The implications were staggering. Humanity was changing, evolving, becoming something capable of standing alongside ancient civilizations as protectors of galactic life. But it was happening through their child, through the consciousness growing within Sarah's womb. The Devourer ships are retreating, Lieutenant Kim announced with amazement. The defense network has driven them back. But Marcus knew through his connection with his child that this was only the beginning. The Devourers would return with greater force, and other threats lurked in the dark spaces between stars. Humanity was about to step onto a galactic stage filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. What happens now? Sarah asked, her hand resting protectively over her belly. Now, Zaltharan said, finally breaking the energy connection between them. Your child finishes developing in the normal way, but it will be born with capabilities that will help guide humanity's next steps among the stars. Marcus felt the mental connection with his child fade to a whisper, but it didn't disappear entirely. Their offspring would always be part human, part something greater, and through that connection, humanity itself would begin to change. Looking at Sarah, at the gentle curve of her belly where their extraordinary child continued to grow, Marcus realized that everything he had thought he knew about his life, his species, and his place in the universe had been completely wrong, and somehow, that felt like the most hopeful discovery he had ever made. 3 months had passed since the Devourer attack, and the research station had become the unofficial headquarters for humanity's transformation. Sarah was now visibly pregnant, her belly round and full with their extraordinary child. Marcus found himself marveling daily at how normal she looked, despite carrying what was essentially the future of human evolution. The station had been reinforced and expanded, with new sections designed specifically for the enhanced humans who were arriving from across human space. Men and women who had always felt different, who had always possessed unusual intuition or problem-solving abilities, were discovering their true nature and learning to work together as a collective. Marcus stood in the observation deck, watching a group of newly awakened enhanced humans practice coordinating their abilities. Through his maintained connection with his unborn child, he could perceive the network of consciousness that linked them all together. It was beautiful and slightly overwhelming. "Daddy's watching us practice again," came his child's gentle mental voice, carrying amusement and affection. Marcus smiled, placing his hand on the viewport. Even unborn, his child had developed a personality that was distinctly human, despite its vast capabilities. It was curious, protective, sometimes mischievous, and deeply loving toward both its parents. "How are you feeling today, little one?" he asked through their mental link. "Growing stronger," came the reply, along with impressions of the child's awareness expanding throughout the station and beyond. "The network is stabilizing. Soon we'll be ready for the next phase." Marcus had learned not to ask too many questions about what the next phase involved. His child understood things about galactic politics and ancient threats that would take him years to comprehend. Instead, he focused on the more immediate concerns of being a father. Sarah found him there, as she often did during these quiet moments. Her pregnancy had progressed normally despite the extraordinary circumstances, and Dr. Morden assured them that both mother and child were perfectly healthy by any standard they could measure. "The Zephyrian Council has agreed to the alliance proposal," Sarah said, settling beside him with one hand resting on her belly. "Dr. Veltar just received confirmation from their homeworld." "That makes 4 species so far," Marcus replied, keeping track of the expanding coalition his child was helping to orchestrate. "The Altarians and the Nexus Collective agreed last week." Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's satisfaction with this news. The enhanced humans weren't just awakening their own abilities, they were serving as bridges between different species, helping to create the kind of galactic cooperation the Vanguard had worked toward for millions of years. "Keeper Zaltharan wants to meet with us later," Sarah continued. "He says there's something important we need to discuss about the birth." Marcus felt a flutter of concern. The pregnancy had been surprisingly normal so far, but he knew their child was anything but ordinary. "Did he say what kind of something?" "No, but I could feel the baby getting excited when he mentioned it," Sarah said with a smile. "Whatever it is, our little one approves." They were interrupted by Dr. Veltar approaching with his characteristic graceful stride. The Zephyrian scientist had become not just a colleague, but a close friend over the past months, helping them understand the complexities of their changing situation. "Captain Chen, Dr. Martinez," he said with a slight bow, "I have received some disturbing intelligence reports from our deep space monitoring stations." Marcus felt his child's attention focus sharply on the conversation. "What kind of reports?" "The Devourers are massing ships at the edge of this galactic arm," Dr. Veltar explained. "Not just the 6 vessels we encountered before, but hundreds. It appears they are preparing for a major offensive." Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child processing this information with a calmness that was both reassuring and unsettling. The unborn consciousness was already formulating responses to threats that terrified seasoned military officers. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked, her protective instincts as sharp as Marcus's own. "Based on their current movement patterns, perhaps 6 weeks," Dr. Veltar replied. "However, there is something else. Our sensors are detecting similar mobilizations by other hostile forces throughout the galaxy. It appears the awakening of the defense networks has triggered a coordinated response from multiple threat species. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying we're about to face a galactic war? It appears so, Dr. Veltar confirmed grimly. The enhanced human network your child has created is being seen as a threat by every species that has chosen the path of conquest over cooperation. Sarah's hand pressed more firmly against her belly, and Marcus felt his child stirring both physically and mentally. The enhanced consciousness was reaching out through the network, communicating with other enhanced humans across known space. The baby says not to worry, Sarah said suddenly, her voice carrying an echo of their child's confidence. This is what the Vanguard have been preparing for. What we've been preparing for. I'm not sure I'm ready for our unborn child to help coordinate a galactic war, Marcus admitted, though he knew his opinion might not matter much at this point. None of us are ready, came Keeper Zaltharan's voice as he approached the group. But readiness has never been a luxury the universe provides. We work with what we have, and what we have is unprecedented. The Vanguard representative looked different somehow, more solid and present than he had during their first encounters. Marcus had learned that the Keepers could adjust their physical density and appearance based on circumstances. You wanted to discuss the birth, Sarah said, getting straight to the point as she often did when pregnancy discomfort made her impatient. Yes, Zaltharan replied, his black eyes reflecting depths of concern. The child's development has exceeded all our projections. When it is born, it will represent the single most powerful enhanced consciousness ever created. That level of capability will attract attention from every corner of the galaxy. What kind of attention? Marcus asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. Species that have remained neutral in galactic conflicts will be forced to choose sides, Zaltharan explained. Ancient powers that have slept for millions of years may awaken, and the child itself will become a target for every enemy of cooperative civilization. Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's understanding of these implications. The enhanced consciousness wasn't afraid, but it was deeply concerned about the safety of its parents and the humans it was working to protect. We have a proposal, Zaltharan continued, a way to ensure the child's safety while maximizing its ability to coordinate the defense of cooperative species. Let's hear it, Sarah said, though Marcus could feel her instinctive wariness about any plan involving their unborn baby. We want to establish a mobile command center, Zaltharan explained, a ship specifically designed to house and protect enhanced human families, while serving as a coordination hub for the Galactic Defense Network. Marcus considered this carefully. You're talking about putting enhanced human children aboard a military vessel. I'm talking about creating a new kind of community, Zaltharan corrected, a place where enhanced humans can live normal family lives while contributing to the larger effort. The children would grow up understanding their capabilities and responsibilities, but they would also grow up as children. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, and Marcus could feel their child considering the proposal through their connection. Finally she spoke. The baby likes the idea, she said simply. It wants to help protect everyone, but it also wants to be our child first. Marcus felt his heart swell with love and pride. Despite all its enhanced capabilities and vast consciousness, their child's primary concern was still being part of their family. Then we'll do it, he said firmly, but I have conditions. Zaltharan tilted his head in what Marcus had learned was a gesture of attentive interest among the Vanguard. This ship will be a home first and a military installation second, Marcus stated. Any decisions about our child's involvement in galactic affairs will be made by us as parents, not by military commanders or ancient aliens with good intentions. Agreed, Zaltharan said without hesitation. The Vanguard have learned that forced enhancement leads only to corruption. Choice must always remain paramount. Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's approval and gratitude. They were about to embark on an adventure that would span the galaxy, but they would do it as a family. Sarah squeezed his hand as they watched the enhanced humans practicing in the observation area below. Ready to raise a child who might help save the galaxy? She asked with a smile. I'm ready to raise our child, Marcus replied. Everything else we'll figure out as we go. The ship Unity was unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Built using combined Vanguard and enhanced human technology, it was part home, part research facility, and part mobile command center. Marcus stood in what would become their family quarters. watching Sarah rest on the specially designed bed that could monitor both her and their child's health in real time. 2 weeks had passed since they'd moved aboard, and Sarah was now overdue by human standards. But Dr. Morden assured them that enhanced pregnancies often extended beyond normal parameters as the child's consciousness finished its development. "Any day now," Sarah said, catching Marcus watching her with concern. "The baby's ready. It's just waiting for the right moment." Through their mental connection, Marcus could feel his child's anticipation mixed with an awareness of galactic events that was almost overwhelming. The Devourer fleets were advancing on multiple fronts, and other enhanced humans throughout the ship were coordinating defensive strategies that spanned dozens of star systems. "Captain, Chen to the command center," came the announcement over the ship's communication system. "Priority 1 situation developing." Marcus kissed Sarah's forehead. "I'll be right back," he promised. "Take your time," she replied with a smile that carried more confidence than he felt. "We're not going anywhere." The command center of the Unity was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Enhanced humans worked alongside Vanguard keepers, Zephyrian scientists, and representatives from a dozen other species. Holographic displays showed tactical situations across half the galaxy, all coordinated through the network his child had helped create. Commander Torres had been promoted to captain of the Unity, and she looked up from the central command station as Marcus entered. "We've got a situation developing in the Arcturus sector," she announced. 3 separate species are requesting immediate assistance against Devourer incursions. Marcus studied the tactical display, his enhanced connection allowing him to perceive details that would have been invisible before his child's awakening. "What's our response capability?" "That's the problem," Torres replied. "We can help 1, maybe 2 of them. But if we commit our forces, the 3rd civilization will likely fall to the Devourers." Keeper Zaltharan approached from his station, his expression showing the weight of impossible decisions. "This is the choice the Devourers force upon us," he said grimly. "They attack simultaneously, knowing we cannot save everyone." Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child stirring with sudden urgency. The unborn consciousness was processing the tactical situation, running calculations that involved factors Marcus couldn't even comprehend. "There might be another option," Marcus said slowly, the words coming from insights his child was sharing with him. "What if we don't try to save all 3 civilizations? What if we save 4? Torres looked confused. "4? There are only 3 under attack." "The Devourers are coordinating their attacks through a central command ship," Marcus explained, the understanding flowing through his connection with his child. "If we can identify and disable it, all 3 attacks will lose their coordination. But that would require—" He paused as the full implications became clear. "It would require direct intervention by the enhanced human network. Full coordination across multiple star systems simultaneously. The kind of coordination that only a fully awakened enhanced consciousness could manage," Zaltharan said, understanding immediately. "Your child would need to be born and actively participating in the network." Marcus felt a flutter of panic. "My baby isn't even born yet. You can't expect it to coordinate a galactic military operation." "Actually," came Sarah's voice from the command center entrance, "that's exactly what it wants to do." Everyone turned to see Sarah standing in the doorway, supported by Dr. Morden. Her face showed the strain of early labor, but her expression was determined. "The contraction started 20 minutes ago," she announced calmly, "and our child says it's time to be born. It wants to help save those civilizations." Marcus rushed to her side, his mind reeling. "Sarah, you should be in the medical bay, not up here discussing military strategy." "The baby wanted to come here first," she replied, wincing slightly as another contraction hit. "It wanted everyone to understand what's about to happen." Dr. Morden activated her portable medical scanner, the readings appearing on the command center's main display. "The child's neural activity is unlike anything we've recorded," she announced. "It's already reaching out through the enhanced human network, preparing for full activation." Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's consciousness expanding rapidly, touching the minds of enhanced humans across the galaxy. The network that had been growing slowly over the past months was suddenly blazing with coordinated activity. "The enhanced humans in the Arcturus sector are reporting simultaneous activation," came a report from one of the communication stations. "They're already beginning coordinated defensive maneuvers." Sarah gripped Marcus's hand as another contraction hit. but her face showed wonder rather than pain. "It's incredible," she whispered. "I can feel the baby connecting with everyone, sharing strategies and coordination across impossible distances." On the tactical display, the situation in the Arcturus sector was changing rapidly. Enhanced humans who had been scattered across 3 different civilizations were suddenly working together, their combined abilities allowing for defensive strategies that none of the individual species could have managed alone. "Devourer command ship identified," announced Lieutenant Kim from her sensor station. "It's positioned between the 3 attack fleets, coordinating their movements through some kind of quantum communication network." "Can we reach it?" Torres asked. "Not with conventional forces," Zeltharan replied, "but with full enhanced human coordination." "We can do it," Sarah said firmly, though her words were interrupted by another contraction. "The baby says we can reach the command ship, but it needs to be born first. Full consciousness requires physical existence." Marcus looked around the command center at the faces of people from a dozen different species, all united in their determination to protect cooperative civilization. His child was about to be born into a universe at war, but it was also being born into a community dedicated to preserving life and freedom. "Dr. Morden," he said decisively, "prepare for delivery, right here in the command center." "Marcus," Sarah protested weakly, "that's not exactly standard procedure." "Nothing about our situation is standard," he replied, squeezing her hand. "If our child wants to be born while coordinating a galactic defense operation, then that's where it should be born." Dr. Morden began setting up medical equipment while the command center transformed around them. The other species representatives maintained respectful distance while continuing their coordination efforts, creating a space that was both a delivery room and a military command post. Through the mental link, Marcus felt his child's excitement and determination. The enhanced consciousness was ready to take its first breath, while simultaneously reaching across the galaxy to protect civilizations it had never seen. "One more push," Dr. Morden encouraged Sarah, as the tactical displays showed enhanced human forces beginning their coordinated strike on the Devourer command ship. And then, in a moment that changed everything, their child was born. The baby's first cry echoed through the command center just as the Devourer command ship exploded on the tactical display. Across 3 star systems, coordinated attacks collapsed into chaos as the enemy forces lost their central coordination. Marcus looked down at his daughter, perfectly human in appearance but with eyes that seemed to hold the depth of stars. Through their connection, now stronger than ever, he felt her consciousness settling into her new physical form while maintaining her vast awareness of the galactic situation. "Hello, little one," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Hello, Daddy," came her mental voice, now accompanied by the soft sounds of a newborn baby. "Thank you for letting me help save everyone." Sarah smiled through her exhaustion, cradling their daughter while around them the command center celebrated the successful defense of 3 civilizations. "What should we call her?" Marcus looked at his daughter, at the gentle curve of her human features housing a consciousness that spanned galaxies. "Hope," he said simply. "Her name is Hope." And as Hope opened her eyes to look at her parents for the first time, Marcus knew that humanity's future among the stars would be everything they had dared to dream, and more.